And now this, 2 years ago, the FBI raided the home of Republican Tennessee Congressman Ogles. They took his cell phone just days after he introduced articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris. Do you think that was a coincidence? He was required by law to stay silent, but tonight he will break that silence. He'll do so tomorrow as well. Congressman Ogles joins us now. Congressman, good to see you. So take us through this. Your house was raided. Your phone was taken 24 hours after you won your primary, by the way. Take us through exactly what happened.
Yeah, so keep in mind, as one of the most conservative members of Congress, a bit of a bulldog, if you will, I had been going after Jack Smith. I had entered articles of impeachment against Biden and Kamala Harris. And then I won my primary. And next thing you know it, we live out in the country on a farm, and out on the road, there are these vehicles. And so we live in the country. I went down and talked to them. And what we learned was that the Biden DOJ had weaponized against me, and what's important to understand, that this isn't just me. You have Arctic frost. You have senators and congressmen who were targeted by Joe Biden because they dared to speak out, that they dared to challenge the status quo. Look, we have under Article 1, the speech and debate clause. The executive branch can't do this. It's one thing in the pursuit of justice. It's another thing when they're targeting you because they want to make you go silent. And it's been a long 2 years, but finally, thanks to President Trump, I've got justice.
And your house was raided, is that correct?
They did not raid our home. They came to our home with a warrant. I obviously surrendered my phone, and we contested the nature by which they took it. So you have previous Supreme Court cases, the Rayburn case, you have the Perry case,
right, right.
Where they took, so they can't walk into your office and take your files and all of your communications with the president. So on that phone were communications I had with President Donald Trump, with communications with members of Congress. That was information that you can't seek, you can't search, you can't have, and they took it anyway. And they did it, by the way, knowing it was a violation of the Constitution, but they were seeing how far they could go. What could they get away with? That is what defines the Biden administration. They're willing to break the rule. They're willing to target you if you dared not bow down to them.
Okay, couple quick ones. So first of all, why don't Republicans do this to Democrats? The indictments that we've seen with Democrats, there's never anybody raided. There's no Roger Stone and CNN's out front. There's no, think about what they did to Donald Trump. They raided Mar-a-Lago. Think about Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon. It's always like this polite courtesy from Republicans. Why offer the other side the same courtesy that you were not offered?
It's not about courtesy, and that's important to understand. It's about the Constitution. Ultimately, now it took 2 years. It took 2 years, but ultimately the Constitution, law and order prevailed. And look, it's been a long 2 years. I'm grayer because of it, right? I'm sure Scott Perry will tell you he's grayer because of it. You got Senator Ron Johnson and Rick Scott and Lauren Boebert and all of the others that were targeted. Haggerty and Blackburn in Tennessee as well. They had to go through this. Now, obviously, myself and Scott Perry and a few others, it was much more rigorous. It was much more aggressive, and they literally tried to take us down. But at the end of the day, I believed in God. I trusted the Constitution. I trusted the law, and we were able to prevail.
Okay.
And again, this gets back to Donald Trump.
Congress, let me just, I want to jump in.
Just for doing the right thing.
Okay, so the justification from the Biden DOJ was that you were under investigation for campaign finance violations, somewhere around $300,000. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so there was a mistake on my filing, but there was no money. This literally was a mistake. This was a notation error that was made by a third party, by the way, and we fixed it.
Okay.
And we hired a third-party accountant and law firm to go through my financial records and make sure everything was right, every I, every T. When I say they did an accounting of my financials, they did a forensic accounting. They fixed everything. If your name was misspelled, they fixed it. I've got the most accurate records to date because of that. Now, that being said,
I hope they do that with Ilhan Omar, by the way.
Not a criminal mistake.
Yeah, I hope they do that with Ilhan Omar, by the way, Congressman. All right, I just want to ask you, you're holding a press conference tomorrow with many of the names you just mentioned. What is the purpose of that?
To bring a focus and attention to this issue about weaponization, what the Biden administration was doing, and it's a warning to America. Look, when you have political prosecutions and persecutions, it did not work for Rome, it did not work for the British Empire, and it didn't work under Joe Biden. Thankfully, because of President Donald Trump, because of his leadership, because of those now in the Justice Department, we have true law and order being instilled back in this country. But
Okay.
it is a slippery slope. They were willing to break the law to come after us.
Let me play you this soundbite. Here's James Comey talking yesterday on his most recent indictment.
Donald Trump has a bottomless desire to gain revenge against those who've criticized him, and I'm not going to stop criticizing him. I'm sure that if this case falls apart, they'll come with something else. I'm going to have to deal with this, as I've told my family. They're going to have to deal with this as long as Donald Trump is in the White House thinking about me in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because he may have broken the law. What do you make of the double standard, the media covering up Biden weaponization, like going to your home and taking your cell phone in the middle of the night, and then pretending that it's only Donald Trump doing this? Joe Biden wrote the book on all of this. Why doesn't the media talk about that?
Well, I mean, as Donald Trump has said over and over again, you have the media that's complicit in some of these, whether directly or indirectly, in these conspiracies. But that being said, I was fortunate in the way it went down with me. But when you take like Scott Perry, they ambushed him essentially in a public space with his family, in front of his family. And so now that being said, my little one still has nightmares to this day, 2 years later, that the bad men that work for Joe Biden are going to come and get me. That
Wow.
those individuals, those individuals that were willing to break the law will
Yeah.
come and get their dad because he believes in liberty, because he believes in the Constitution, because he supports our president, quite frankly. And so this has an impact that we must bring awareness to and a warning to the American people. We saw this with J6. We saw it with Arctic Frost. You saw it with Scott Perry.
Yep.
And now you see it with me. There's a pattern here under the Biden administration. We can never let that happen again.
Yeah, they just want to cover it up. You got your cell phone back, right?
It's in process, but yes.
All right. Congressman Andy Ogles, we'll be watching tomorrow. Thank you. Appreciate it.